WWE's Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque responds to questions about allegations made against Vince McMahon in a new bombshell lawsuit at last night's Royal Rumble post-show press conference. Speaking of the allegations made against Vince McMahon, Cody Rhodes also responded to the allegations made against the former TKO executive chairman. Former WWE superstar Ronda Rousey, though, suggests that whilst Bruce Prichard is in the company, Vince McMahon's presence will never be removed. Of course, the Royal Rumble was last night. We've got all of the winners, losers, and returns at last night's big premium live event. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off with, I guess, the elephant in the room. That is the allegations made against Vince McMahon. Everyone was looking forward to the Royal Rumble last night, but many people were looking forward, or at least anticipating, the Royal Rumble post-show press conference in which, for the first time, we would hear publicly comments from people like Paul Levesque on the allegations made against his father-in-law, Vince McMahon. Now, WWE CCO Paul Levesque, Triple H, was asked about the recent Vince McMahon allegations in the post-Royal Rumble press conference. On January 25, a lawsuit accused McMahon of sexual trafficking, abuse, and more. We've covered it in great detail here on the channel. Be sure to check those videos out. Now, of course, the following day, after Slim Jim paused its partnership with WWE, McMahon resigned from WWE's parent company, TKO. Now, Levesque gave two very similar responses when asked twice about the allegations in the post-Royal Rumble press conference. This was his first response to a question about the allegations. He said, quote, "I'm going to do exactly what you would expect me to do here. We just had an amazing week. Just got a 10-year, $5 billion deal with Netflix. Rock joining our board. We just sold out to the Royal Rumble, put 48,000 people in Tropicana Field. I choose to focus on the positive, and yes, there's a negative, but I want to focus on that and just keep it to that." Now, when asked about the situation again, he had the following to say as well. He said, quote, "I did not read the lawsuit. I think Cody mentioned it, that we all found out real time when you were, and that's the truth. I'll go back to what I said before. This is an amazing week for us, and at this point, I don't even want to get bogged down in the negatives of it." He then continued by saying, "I just want to focus on the positives and where we're going and where we're at the most exciting time of the year for us. We're at the most exciting point to me business-wise I think that we've ever had. I think Cody might have said, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but the best positioning of the company since the Attitude Era. I've been through that era. I understand what it's like. I feel like we are in the middle of something that, while we might not be able to put our finger on it right now, 5-10 years from now, we're going to be saying, wow, what a time that was. I want to focus on that." Now, he wasn't the only person who spoke about the allegations against Vince McMahon. Also, Cody Rhodes, of course, the winner of the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble match, was asked about the allegations made against former TKO executive chairman Vince McMahon at the Royal Rumble post-show press conference. Now, as I mentioned, this lawsuit has created a huge shadow over the events of the weekend. And again, as Triple H mentioned, a very big week for WWE. Now, obviously, Cody Rhodes won at last night's Men's Royal Rumble match, and he spoke at the post-show press conference, and he was asked about the allegations made against Vince McMahon. Cody Rhodes said the following. He said, quote, "I know as far as the news is concerned, we were finding it out and reading the same things that you guys were reading. You said a dark cloud. Certainly, as far as TKO, Nick Khan, and the board, they clearly took it very seriously, acted immediately. And looking at the future, I don't know the answer to that. And I think somewhere is really probably basic tenet of just this crew, more than ever, from a roster standpoint, is very family. Never seen anything like this. Most of the time, wrestler locker rooms are fighting, talking trash about each other, sandbagging each other in the ring, all that nonsense. This crew is very team-based, and perhaps that's the ingredient, is everyone looking out for everyone, being accountable." He then concluded by saying, "And I know for me as a performer and a competitor, I've been through dark periods in our industry before, and it might sound cheesy, but it's very reinforcing if you're in my position, that it's a time when, hey, we got 50,000 people out here. I want to give them something else from this weekend that isn't a terrible situation and terrible news." And I think we were able to do that. And obviously, as more news comes out, we'll be seeing it just like you are as well. So what are your thoughts when it comes to the comments made by Triple H H and by Cody Rhodes as well. Do you think they handled it well? Do you think they didn't handle it well? Let me know your thoughts and your reactions to that in the comment section below. But of course, as I mentioned, it was a pretty wide-ranging story, and an interesting reaction to it came from former WWE and UFC star Ronda Rousey, who suggested that whilst Vince McMahon has resigned from TKO and has no involvement anymore in WWE, he still could have an influence in the form of people that used to work close with him, namely Bruce Prichard. This was a really interesting tweet put out there by Ronda Rousey. Now, as I mentioned, it was announced on Friday night that McMahon was gone from WWE following the allegations made against him in Janelle Grant's lawsuit. WWE President Nick Khan sent an email to staff informing them that McMahon had resigned from WWE and its parent company TKO Group Holdings and was not going to be involved. Now, Ronda Rousey, she had something to say there. Ronda Rousey doesn't believe that Vince McMahon will remain uninvolved. In her post on social media, as you can see on the screen right now, Rousey stated that as long as Bruce Prichard is still with WWE, McMahon will have a hand in the company. Rousey claimed that McMahon was still running things through Prichard following his July 2022 retirement. Rousey wrote, quote, "Bruce Prichard is basically Vince's avatar. If he's still around, Vince still has a hand in the business. Vince was still running things through Bruce when he was gone before." Now, of course, Prichard, a longtime ally of McMahon in WWE Creative, returned to WWE as part of the creative team back in 2019. Do you think that Ronda Rousey is accurate in what she is saying there? And do you think that to really fully remove McMahon from the company, you have to remove people that have been close to him in the past? And who would that include? Let me know your thoughts and reaction to that in the comment section below. Now, obviously, these are spoilers for the Royal Rumble ahead. Of course, it has aired on television, but sometimes people watch these videos without watching the Rumble, so spoilers, because we're going to get into the winners, the returns, and things of that nature from last night. Starting with the American Nightmare, still chasing the American Dream indeed. Cody Rhodes has become the first person since Stone Cold Steve Austin to win back-to-back Royal Rumble matches. Rhodes outlasted opponents like Gunther, Sami Zayn, Jimmy and Jey Uso, and CM Punk last night to earn his place at WrestleMania 40 in April. After Rhodes eliminated Gunther, he and Punk went back and forth as the last two competitors. Withstanding several close calls, including a pedigree from Punk, Rhodes was able to counter a GTS and launch Punk out of the ring for the victory. It seems good as certain that Rhodes will challenge Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at WrestleMania. The former AEW star faced Reigns at the event last year but came up short in the end. Since then, Rhodes has promised to fight for a rematch, allowing him to finish the story started by his late father, Dusty Rhodes. Rhodes is now the fourth person in history to win 2 Royal Rumble matches in a row, joining Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Hulk Hogan. Since returning to WWE 2 years ago, Rhodes has had a lengthy feud against Seth Rollins before dealing with an injury to his pectoral muscle that took him out for more than 6 months. Rhodes returned at the Royal Rumble last year before winning the match to go on to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Now, with CM Punk unable to seal his fate for WrestleMania, he'll undoubtedly look for another path towards Seth Rollins and the World Heavyweight Championship. Last night saw Punk show a familiar, arrogant side of himself, possibly hinting at a move away from the wholesome version of Punk that we've seen upon his return to the company. What are your thoughts on Cody Rhodes winning the men's Royal Rumble match? Do you think this is a good move? Do you think it's a bad move? Did you want to see something different? Are you hoping to see something different? What's your thoughts and reactions to it? Let me know, as always, in the comment section below. Now, speaking of Royal Rumble matches, Bayley has won the Women's Royal Rumble match. WrestleMania will have a healthy dose of damage control in April. Bayley outlasted 29 other women to win the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble in St. Petersburg, Florida. Entering at number 3, Bayley last eliminated former SmackDown Women's Champion Liv Morgan to win the match and punch her ticket to Philadelphia, where she'll challenge either Women's Champion Io Sky or Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 40. This will likely mark Bayley's first singles match ever at WrestleMania, as the former women's champion has mainly been confined to multi-women title matches, tag matches, and the occasional battle royal. Of course, she even hosted WrestleMania back at WrestleMania 37, ironically enough, once again in Florida. Now, a big story coming out of the Rumble was TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace competing in the match. Yes, Jordynne Grace made her WWE debut in the Women's Royal Rumble match. Now, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, the TNA Knockouts champion Jordynne Grace was at the show as a major surprise. Fightful say they had heard that WWE reached out to outside companies about potential Royal Rumble surprise entrants. Fightful have been told that WWE contacted TNA this past weekend to inquire, and everything went through TNA. Grace, of course, is still signed with the company. Fightful have also been told that Grace had a physical and blood work on Monday, then flew to Florida Thursday to participate in Royal Rumble rehearsals. There were some within TNA who said they heard this was a possibility earlier this month when there were broader WWE/TNA collaboration rumors. Those that Fightful spoke to in WWE said both TNA and Jordynne Grace were easy to deal with and accommodating during the process. Now, Triple H was asked about Jordynne Grace's appearance on the show and if we could see the Forbidden Door open anymore in WWE in the future. Well, Triple H revealed he's not a fan of the Forbidden Door phrase. He said the following. He said, quote, "It's exciting just to be able to branch out. I'm not going to use all the cliche terms about what door people go through or anything like that because it's stupid and silly." Seemingly, WWE's chief content officer, not a fan of the Triple H's reaction to not being a fan of the Forbidden Door phrase. Now, speaking of AEW and Forbidden Door, Jade Cargill finally made her WWE in-ring debut last night in the Women's Royal Rumble match. Jade Cargill made her official WWE in-ring debut at last night's Royal Rumble event. The former AEW TBS champion, who inked a deal with WWE last September, entered the Women's Rumble bout as a surprise entrant at number 28 after eliminating another returning star that we'll talk about shortly. Cargill ended up making it to the final three, along with the returning Liv Morgan and eventual winner Bayley. Before signing with WWE, Cargill built her name in Tony Khan's promotion, holding the TBS Championship for a record-setting 508 days. Days after her final match at AEW, reports emerged that Cargill had reported to the WWE Performance Center. It was then announced that she had signed a multi-year deal with the TKO-owned promotion. What were your thoughts on Jade Cargill and her WWE debut, officially in-ring debut, in the Women's Royal Rumble match? Speaking of people coming over from AEW, Andrade is now officially back in WWE. The Royal Rumble is becoming a commonplace for new or returning stars to make surprise appearances in WWE, and the latest protocol superstar to return is Andrade El Idolo. Andrade returned at number 4 in the Royal Rumble and was eventually eliminated by Bronson Reed. This was his third Royal Rumble appearance overall. The former NXT champion had been in All Elite Wrestling for the last 3 years, where Andrade was often the source of backstage altercations and grumblings about a desire to return to WWE. Andrade's last match was on December 30 at AEW World's End pay-per-view, where he lost to Miro. Before that, he took part in the AEW Continental Classics, scoring 9 points in the Blue League and made some appearances in CMLL. Andrade's contract with AEW expired at the end of the year, and now he's back in WWE. Speaking of returns to WWE, Naomi is also back within the company, of course, after finishing up with TNA Wrestling. The Glow is back in WWE. Former TNA Knockouts champion Naomi returned to WWE after more than a year away from the company at Saturday's Royal Rumble event. Naomi entered the titular match at the number 2 spot and lasted the majority of the bout before she was eliminated by Jade Cargill. Naomi had competed in Impact Wrestling, now TNA Wrestling, as Trinity, where she held the Knockouts Championship until the most recent pay-per-view Hard to Kill, and competed at the following TV taping, which had known to be the end of her TNA tenure. Of course, Jordynne Grace, the woman who defeated Naomi for the title, also made an appearance in the Royal Rumble match. So Naomi is back in WWE. Speaking of returns as well, this time from injury, Liv Morgan made her return to WWE television last night in the Women's Royal Rumble match. The universe watched with bated breath last night to see who would appear in the coveted number 30 spot in the Women's Royal Rumble. They would not be disappointed as fans around the world collectively cheered as Liv Morgan's music hit and she walked into the ring with confidence oozing off her. The former SmackDown Women's Champion entered the match with fiery intensity after immediately hitting Bayley with an Oblivion. Zoe Stark attempted to pump the brakes on Morgan's white-hot momentum. Morgan was temporarily stunned by a super kick but recovered just in time to reverse a right hand from Zoe Stark to eliminate her. Morgan continued to fight and scored another elimination when she took out fan favourite Jade Cargill with another Oblivion. WrestleMania, though, ultimately slipped through her fingertips for the second year in a row as Bayley eliminated Morgan shortly after to win the match. Now, Morgan was last seen on WWE programming on the July 17 episode of Raw, where she and Raquel Rodriguez attempted to defend the Women's Tag Team Championships against Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. The titles changed hands that night, and Morgan disappeared from WWE television since. As I mentioned, Morgan was the last person eliminated last year when it came to the Women's Royal Rumble match, and the same fate has happened this time round. Now, another return last night was the return of Sami Zayn to WWE television. Sami Zayn, and I guess surprise, is the brand of the Royal Rumble with countless eligible superstars on the roster. There was intense excitement surrounding who would come through the curtain when the timer reached 0, and Tropicana Field broke out into raucous applause when timer hit 0 on Saturday, and Sami Zayn emerged to enter the match at the number 30 spot. Zayn entered a match full of dangerous superstars, but he immediately targeted Drew McIntyre. Zayn showed grit he has been known for as he successfully delivered a haluva kick to McIntyre before he became entangled with Damian Priest. Priest attempted to lift him into a razor's edge, but Zayn skillfully reversed the maneuver to toss Priest over the top rope for an elimination. Unfortunately, Zayn himself was soon eliminated by McIntyre, who went on to compete in the final 4 people of the match alongside Gunther, Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk. Zayn's last televised appearance was on the December 4th episode of Raw, where he lost to McIntyre in a last man standing match. Zayn is best known for his incredible contributions in the saga of the Bloodline, which culminated with him and Kevin Owens claiming the Undisputed Tag Team Championships in the main event of WrestleMania Night 1 last year. Speaking of the Bloodline, Roman Reigns is still the Undisputed WWE Universal Championship after successfully defending the title last night at the Royal Rumble. Though his opponents put up a good fight, Roman Reigns is still the Undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Reigns pinned AJ Styles at last night's Royal Rumble, overcoming the odds to win the Fatal 4-Way and retain his championship in the night's second bout. With this victory, Reigns has ensured that his dominant run over the last 3+ years will continue, likely until at least WrestleMania 40 in April. The Tribal Chief was able to retain with the help of his cousin, Solo Sikoa. Reigns' ally arrived mid-match to provide some backup, launching attacks on all of his cousin's challengers. At one point, it looked as though Randy Orton had Reigns beat, but the interference of Sikoa ensured that the match went on. Eventually, Reigns was able to land a spear on AJ Styles, while both Randy Orton and LA Knight were on the outside, pinning the veteran for the 3 count. Now, as of now, Roman Reigns is not expected to appear at next month's Elimination Chamber Premium Live event, which will take place in Perth, Australia. Based on his schedule in recent months, it seems unlikely that Reigns will put his championship on the line again until the showcase of the Immortals. Obviously, Cody Rhodes won last night's Men Royal Rumble match, and at the end of the show indicated that he's going to try and finish his story once again by challenging the Tribal Chief at WrestleMania 40. Logan Paul is still your United States champion, but just about winning the match via disqualification. Logan Paul is still the US champion following a controversial victory over Kevin Owens. Towards the end of the US title clash at last night's Royal Rumble event, security sent one of Paul's associates to the back after he appeared at ringside. Moments later, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller made their presence felt, with Theory passing a pair of brass knuckles to the champion. After Paul kicked out of a roll-up, Owens used the knuckles, only for the referee to spot them on the former Universal Champion's hand at the last moment during a pin attempt. The official ultimately disqualified Owens. Post-match, Owens sent Paul crashing through the commentary table, but Paul was still the US champion. Of course, Paul first won the United States Championship at last November's Crown Jewel Premium Live event. That night in Saudi Arabia, Paul cheated his way to victory by using a pair of brass knuckles to capture the belt from Rey Mysterio. Meanwhile, Owens has been feuding with Theory and Waller on SmackDown in recent weeks, which explains their interference in last night's title encounter. Now, R-Truth was a very busy man last night. Not only was he in the Men's Royal Rumble, but briefly, kind of, and not officially, he was in the Women's Royal Rumble match. R-Truth does get confused quite often, doesn't he? Last night's Royal Rumble was only just getting started, and it was already an eventful evening. In the midst of the Women's Royal Rumble match, Valhalla of the Viking Raiders began making her way down to the ring in the number 24 slot when her entrance was interrupted by R-Truth of the Judgment Day. Rushing into the ring, Truth was almost immediately thrown over the top rope by Nia Jax. As he landed on the outside, Truth was approached by an irate Valhalla as well as Raw General Manager Adam Pearce. Pearce informed Truth that he entered the women's match, with the veteran making it clear that he was still confused. Now, since making his return to WWE last year, Truth has arguably been building more popularity and goodwill with fans than at any other point of his career. The 52-year-old has ingrained himself with the villainous faction The Judgment Day, with at least some members of the group accepting him to a degree. However, Truth has seemingly inadvertently caused The Judgment Day to lose some major matches, such as costing Damian Priest a victory against Drew McIntyre this past Monday on Raw. Following Truth realizing his mistake and heading to the back, Valhalla entered the ring and was eliminated by Jax as well, lasting just over 5 seconds. Of course, Bayley went on to win the match. R-Truth did eventually enter the right match, the Men's Rumble match, later on in the show, but ultimately he got eliminated, but tried a hot tag. with Dominic Mysterio. Again, R-Truth gets very confused. Finally, Pat McAfee made a return to WWE programming last night at the Royal Rumble as well. Kicking off the Royal Rumble with his second annual surprise return for the big premium live event, Pat McAfee was back. Before any matches occurred, a surprise return in the form of a special guest commentator for the big event. Pat McAfee made a return to WWE to serve as a special guest commentator for the Royal Rumble. Now, McAfee has continued to achieve mainstream success since going on hiatus from wrestling, including a major job joining the panel on ESPN College Game Day. Pat continues to host his Pat McAfee Show daily on ESPN throughout the week as well. Eventually, McAfee did actually enter the men's Royal Rumble match, but very quickly eliminated himself after he was intimidated by the likes of Bron Breakker and Amos. But there you go, guys. It's the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.